Okay, everybody. Good morning, and thank you for joining this live webinar on digital building blocks, building smart cities. My name's Tom Phillis, and I'm just going to run through some housekeeping. I can see that we still have quite a few people joining, and I guess this will happen consistently through the first part of the webinar. So, as we have quite a packed agenda, I suggest we just get started. And as people join, they can, they will, I'm sure, work out where we are in terms of the webinar. So in terms of some general housekeeping, can all participants please make sure they're muted to avoid any noise or distraction over the system. Throughout the entire webinar, you will be able to submit questions directly through the chat function within WebEx itself. We'll have 3 Q&A opportunities throughout the webinar, and in the next slide I'll point out when they are. But please submit any questions you might have via the chat function, and we will prepare written answers to all of the questions, which we will then publish and circulate in due course. And finally, please note that this webinar is being recorded, and we will publish the recording on the CEF Digital Commission site. So with this out of the way, let's have a quick look at today's agenda. So we are going to begin with Ms. Cristina Martinez, who's the Deputy Head of Unit for Smart Mobility and Living in the Commission's DG CNECT, and who will deliver our opening and discover how the European Commission is supporting smart cities. We will then move on to João Rodrigues-Frade, who's the head of the building block sector in DG Digit, who will present the CEF services and how they can support your transformational efforts. After João's intervention, we will have a 5-minute Q&A where we will try and answer as many questions as we can live, but as said, we will make sure that every question submitted receives a written answer. Following that Q&A, we'll then have Carl Piva, a senior advisor to government, cities and ICT companies, who will present the City as a Platform manifesto with a specific reference to the importance of the building blocks, followed immediately by Mr. Ulrich Ahler, the CEO of the Fireware Foundation, who will present some smart city case studies. Finally, Ms. Kelly Liliemo, the project officer in the building block sector in Digit, will wrap up, and we will have a final Q&A. So I think that's it from my side in terms of housekeeping and setting the scene. With a mind to our very busy agenda, maybe I'll just hand the floor straight over to Cristina, and we have colleagues monitoring the chat box for any technical problems you may have. So please, Cristina, without any more ado or any further ado, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, from sunny Brussels. This is Cristina from the European Commission. I'm really delighted to open this webinar organized by the Commission on the Connecting Europe Facility Program. I'll do my best to use no acronyms this morning. So the building blocks for smart cities, and my colleague later on will give you a detailed presentation on them and tell you why we think it's such a good opportunity for all those interested in smart cities applications. I just want to give you a few elements of our vision for smart cities and what we call now power communities here in the Commission. First of all, the aim of the smart cities policy is, very importantly, the improvement of citizens' quality of life by offering not only better traditional urban services, but also a broader range of high-quality, innovative, and resilient services, for example, in the areas of health, mobility, energy, water, etc. So keeping this in mind, I would like to mention 6 elements of this policy. First, we have a citizen-centric and sustainability-focused strategy. We think that smart cities need to invest in people in 2 different ways. On one hand, by improving their digital skills as users so that they can take full advantage of the services and the information provided by urban platforms. And on the other hand, by enabling them to exploit the wide range of employment opportunities for digitally skilled workers. Secondly, smart cities hold most of the key elements towards a low carbon and resilient adaptive society. You know, buildings, electric vehicles, etc. are key elements toward a low carbon society. So solutions developed should be energy efficient, help managing smartly energy consumption and production, and also reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Second, we think that engaging the collective power of European cities and communities is fundamental. My Director General, Roberto Viola, at the Connected Smart Cities Conference stated that in order to be successful and deliver a smart city that works for local communities, the concept of smart city needs to undergo a radical shift, namely moving from cities to communities, from systems to ecosystem, and from design to citizen empowerment. We think smart cities are not an isolated sector driven by technology. They can only succeed in the digital transformation if citizens are actively included in the creation of new digital services. Also, citizens need to be empowered to design their own applications so that they can solve local issues important to them to support their community. Third element, we want to scale up solutions that we have developed through EU projects or which were developed by cities. Within our research and innovation funding programs, we call them FP7 and Horizon 2020, in the last year, the Commission has launched many dedicated calls on smart cities and communities, and we have granted support to more than 200 projects already in this context, so notably by stimulating the take-up and large-scale deployment of smart city solutions. In this program, for instance, we have already funded up to 270 million euros allocated to large-scale lighthouse projects involving 36 lighthouse cities and 42 follower cities, all of which are collaborating with each other. So all these efforts and solutions should benefit a vast majority of EU cities and should be scaled up whenever possible. Final point, we promote a smart city and a community ecosystem that is based on open standards. In other words, the interoperability principle is a key foundation for smart cities development. Let me develop. Urban platforms are what we call in digital terms the operating systems of smart city services, and they are needed to handle the growing range of stakeholders and data across various sectors, ranging from mobility and energy to health and e-government. By removing barriers such as vendor locking and non-interoperable protocols, we can achieve, we believe and we hope, more innovation and cost-effective solutions. So the Commission is promoting interoperable urban platforms with areas such as mobility, such as mobility and transport being among the key drivers. Solutions can be customized for each city based on its own characteristics, taking advantage of the synergies, of course, the economies of scale in collective and coordinated purchasing processes. Voila. So in a nutshell, these are the key elements that I wanted to bring to your attention. Now my colleagues will tell you how the CEF building blocks are an example to be part of this ecosystem. I will now give the floor to my colleague João Rodrigues Frade from the Building Blocks unit, who will present you the CEF building blocks in more detail. If you have further questions regarding smart cities or the CEF policy, please send them to me or to my colleague Serge Novaretti by email, as I'm not able to stay until the end of the seminar. We will do our best to reply to you ASAP. Thank you very much.